The hour of 6 o'clock having arrived, we'll call the regular meeting, we'll call the Committee of the Whole Budget Work Group for the fiscal year 21 budget meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
I will. Trustee Gray?
Yes.
Trustee Hahn?
He has an excused absence.
Trustee Long?
He will be here in a few minutes.
Trustee Rockford?
Here.
Trustee Schultz?
I have no word on Trustee Schultz.
Okay. Trustee Tim?
Yes.
And Village President Clark?
Here, that is 4 members of the village board answering the roll. A quorum being present, we'll proceed with the order of business as posted on the agenda. For the record, today is Monday, July 20th of 2020. The location of this meeting is at the Sherman Village Hall, located at 401 St. John's Drive in Sherman, Illinois. The time is 6 p.m. And again, this is a meeting of the Sherman Village Board of Trustees Committee of the Whole Fiscal Year 21 Budget Working Group. So, that being said, we'll get to the opening on the agenda. We did the clerk's roll call. That brings us to item number 2, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. If I could ask everybody to stand and face the flag. I'm going to ask Ms. Walden if you can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. The next item is the Committee of the Whole Fiscal Year 21 Budget Work Group discussion. Item number 1 listed is the discussion and projections of revenues for the fiscal year 21 budget and appropriations. I'll read into the record right now real quick because we'll probably right into working through both of these in conjunction with each other, but that's discussion and projections of expenditures for fiscal year 21 budget and appropriations and capital equipment projects, followed by the public comment period and then the adjournment. This is a working group, so it's not going to look like your typical village board meeting where we go through with a lot of structure. This is going to be question, answer, and a working group. So that being said, the first thing that the chair would like to do is ask the board members to pull out the packet that the clerk and administrator had presented to you as a working draft document. Essentially what that is, the one we'll start with, is last year's budget. It basically kind of sets the tone for what we're doing. In your packet, there are a number of items. The first thing that we need to do, first thing that anybody needs to do, whether it's a budget for a municipal government, the state of Illinois, the federal government, is know the parameters and the dollars that you have to spend within. So that being said, at the last meeting, I had spoke of our revenue projections, and the Illinois Municipal League actually puts out a Illinois Municipal League Review magazine. For some of the sources of income, they make revenue projections. Those revenue projections are published in this magazine. I've done some of the work in terms of doing the projections for the Village of Sherman based on our per capita numbers. So just so that everybody knows, as we start working through this, this is the July 2020 magazine. They're very good at what they do. Obviously, the Illinois Municipal League is an association. Each and every single town in the state of Illinois they belong to it. So their staff on page 6 has put forward a very in-depth, very detailed article on various different sources of income that local governments use. I'm not going to get into this too much, but there's a revenue summary. So the income tax, and I'm going to sound a little, how do I put this? Almost like I'm teaching the class, and you all probably already know it, but I also want to the extent that somebody doesn't know, it's going to inform you a little bit better, or trying to phrase this delicately, but to the extent that you don't know, ask questions or whatever. To the extent that you know, it's going to come easy to you. But the village of Sherman, we gotta talk about how it derives its revenues. And there's a lot of misconception in the general public on where their tax bill actually goes. So I'm gonna kinda hit on that tonight to refresh all of us. Also wanna hit on that because there's individuals here that may or may not know, and then some people, may look at the stuff that when it's posted online and view the meeting, so it may give them a better understanding. But there's a very big misconception out there on how much of somebody's tax bill goes to the village of Sherman. We're gonna hit on that tonight, and we're gonna point out what an actual property tax bill looks like and how much comes to us for the operations of the village. Paying our public works department, paying our police department, paying our emergency management agency, paying for the administration, all the things that people see and know from the village of Sherman that they think, I pay high taxes, I pay taxes to Sherman, when in all actuality, they're thinking about property taxes, and it's actually not ours in terms of the proportionate amount coming from that property tax bill. So let's get into a couple things here real fast. This is, like I said, it's the working group. I want to talk about why the census is so important and why we need to make sure everybody's counted. Because in these sources that right here that we'll go over, they're all derived off of per capita. And per capita means how many people live in this town. And when the census certifies that, that's the number that we use for the next 10 years to go forward, and that the state of Illinois uses to go forward on giving us our funding. So the village of Sherman's biggest line item sources are essentially two of them. And when we see a fall off, we see major hardships. One is the sales tax, we'll get into that later. The other is the income tax. And it's called the Local Government Distributive Fund. So the Local Government Distributive Fund is an amount of money that is distributed to each municipality based on their per capita incomes, or per capita numbers. But how is the income tax, how is this Local Government Distributive Fund actually structured? It's all tied to individuals that are working in the state of Illinois. So your income tax that you pay on your paycheck, when you see that come out, and that rate goes into an aggregate fund for the state of Illinois. And then a portion of that, 1/6 essentially, is put into this pot and distributed to municipalities based on their population. Well, when you see higher unemployment due to a pandemic, due to a recession, due to anything related to the economy, local governments are directly affected because the total aggregate amount of money, and it being based on a certain formula, shrinks. And so we'll get into that here in just a second. So I just want to go into this really quick. So for the income tax for fiscal year 2019 actual, for every citizen in the village of Sherman, we get $97.10. And so you multiply that by 4,148, and that would give you, which is our last 10-year census, you multiply that by 4,148 by $97.10, and that would give you our actual amount of dollars that we received out of the income tax line item. In fiscal year 2020, in December, or the December 2019 forecast, that was actually higher. It was $107.25. So things were going much better at that point in time when they forecasted those revenues. Then the actual 2020 was $108.39 per person. Well, we've been operating off of $108.39 per person when things were going much better. Things have obviously turned around. We're in the midst of a pandemic, a recession as well. So essentially somewhat of a perfect storm. For fiscal year '21, the December 2019 forecast was $105 per person. The big number we're gonna get back to here, and which affects us, is now the municipal fiscal year 2021 June 2020 revised forecast. So our revenues now have dipped back down to $97.30 per person. That's what we're gonna get. That's the whole entire year. So J-Tim goes to work for one whole year, and he pays the state income tax, and that comes out. The actual amount of money that's coming from J-Tim back to the village of Sherman from his income taxes that he's paid on his paycheck is $97.30. So what we'll do right now, I have this in my Excel, I did a little Excel spreadsheet, I just want to pop it up here real quick and demonstrate what's going to happen for fiscal year 2021 budget. So in the income tax line item, because of less people working at being tied to employment, that line item is actually gonna see a 10.23% decrease. The effect on the budget, and like I said, it's real simple. You take 4,148 and you multiply that by $97.30. The fiscal year 2021 local government distributed fund income tax number that we're gonna have to plug in, if we believe the Illinois Municipal League estimate, which I have no reason to believe it otherwise, and I don't think anybody else does. They are literally the individuals that do this stuff, and so they're, typically right on. So if you multiply those numbers together, you're gonna get $403,600.40. Sounds like a decent sum of money, right? But here's the thing. If you take the fiscal year, or the 2020 actual rate that came in at $108.39 times 4,148 people, you actually received $449,601.72. So the net loss for the local government distributed fund, one of our two largest sources for the village, is going to see a $46,001.32 decrease, which is, again, a 10.23% decrease.